Hey guys, Montel here, and welcome to this edition of Free Thinking with Montel. We have an exceptional guest here today on our show, a best-selling author who specializes in utilizing cutting-edge nutritional and medical science to transform the lives of busy individuals. Her latest book, I'm So Effing Tired, is a comprehensive guide that aims to conquer burnout and boost your energy. She's a cum laude graduate of Cornell University's prestigious School of Nutrition, a medical doctorate holder with distinction, with training from Cornell, Harvard, and Columbia, and has been voted as top doctor for consecutive years now from 2017 to 2023. Dr. Amy Shah, thank you so much for being a guest on Free Thinking with Montel today.
Thanks so much for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for being here. Look, let's talk a little bit. Tell me a little bit about your background, how you came to focus your career on nutrition and wellness.
Well, I think most people think that when you go to medical school, you get all this nutrition knowledge. And so you can give your patients, what to eat, how to live, how to exercise. But in reality, especially when I went to medical school, there was very little advice about, how to teach patients how to eat. And even we were eating the most horrible foods, that they would feed us as young doctors in training. And I had a nutrition undergraduate degree, and I just thought, oh my God, this is crazy that we're not kind of blending nutrition and medicine together. So now it's all the rage, right? We're all learning about food as medicine and how to use food and your gut health and how it affects your mind. But at that time, it was really completely separate fields. And so when I went out into practice, I was not using my nutrition skills at all. I was just helping patients in a 15-minute manner, giving them medications. And I knew I had to do something more. And that's when I started to do education, blogging, social media, to try to kind of use my skills and my gift and what I thought was my purpose in this career, to really do it in a way that wasn't usually traditionally done in medicine. So that's how I got kind of into this.
And what's striking though is that as much as you just talked about the fact that medicine is starting to, or the medical community is starting to realize that it is the entire person, not just medication that you get prescribed, but it's also lifestyle, it's also exercise, it's also what you actually put in actually contributes to what you get out of life. The knowledge is now there, but there are still so many doctors who seem to want to fight this. Why is that?
Think about it. I always think of this because of our research system. A lot of our medical views are based on big research studies, thousands of people, tens of thousands of people, right? But these research studies are very expensive. And so who's going to fund all of this research? Not the growers of broccoli, right? It's usually medication companies, pharmaceutical companies who want to get their product out there. And so they have the money, the means to fund these large studies. And so then you get these results. And what we're told is, hey, you're not supposed to recommend things based on small trials or just clinical experience. You're supposed to look at the data. And the data has excluded women. Until like 1987, it had excluded, it wasn't diverse at all.
It still is not diverse at all.
Yeah, it isn't.
You look at research around the world.
Yeah.
I mean, we are barely including representations of all demographics involved in the studies that we do. And unfortunately, I think that, we've turned ourselves into a sick care system where we literally, rather than a healthcare system where we're trying to promote health, and we understand that just nature promotes health in some ways, we've gone after how do we combat sickness and come up with, I'm so sorry, I'm not jaded, but I've been involved in the medical community now for quite a long time. I actually was involved in taking a medical device public, actually getting FDA approval. And, the FDA made us jump through $100 million worth of hoops to get approval for something that really should not have cost that much. And I look at it now and look at the studies that are going on around the country. with things as simple as, let's say, cannabis, understanding that, the medical community is not ever, hasn't even, the majority of the medical community still does not teach the endocannabinoid system, which is something that we've known about for 40 years, but we don't even teach that to most medical students to make them understand that there's something else going on in our bodies, not just what we've been force fed to believe. So, I mean, I think some of this has to do more with, an industrial complex that's trying to make money off of people who are sick rather than trying to heal the sickness. That's just me
Yeah.
talking.
No, I mean, that's the argument, right? Of course, if you think about it, but the way I think about it is that there's really not enough funding for. I want to see the large scale trials on, what the good diet, will do for us in our modern times or whatever, getting sunlight, something I really talk about a lot. But for example, the best studies on sauna therapy, something that you wouldn't necessarily think is like a major thing that could help your health. In Finland, everybody uses sauna. So they did this study on the Finnish population, huge study, and they saw it can reduce cardiovascular disease by like 50% just by using the sauna on a regular basis. I mean, these are the things we should know about because then we don't have to take medications for all these things. We can be doing the right things like exercise, sauna, eating the right foods, etc.
You're absolutely right. But I understand. Maybe just what's your view on why is the industrial medical complex fighting this so much rather than embracing it? I mean, we're at a point right now where the populations on the planet has reached the level where, it's almost impossible to cater to the numbers of people that we have on this planet just trying to see a doctor. I mean, and as we look at what's going on here in the American sick care system, where we are seeing a mass exodus across the board of everything from nurses to doctors. We're not even educating the number of doctors that we're going to need in another 5 years. And there's estimates out there right now. They're here as 2024. We're somewhere near 500,000 nurses short in America today. We're close to 300,000 doctors short. And over the next 4 or 5 years, as more and more of them age out, we're not recouping those numbers through medical schools and others. So we've got to start doing things that will be, universally easier for the average person to do than go and sign up for a doctor's visit that you're not going to. I got a mother-in-law who has a doctor's visit scheduled for something going on with her, and they set her appointment for the end of next month. It's like, I should pick now, not end of next month. Why can't she go to the doctor? Because there's not enough doctors.
I know. Actually, one of the taglines when I do my social media or I write my books is we have to learn how to save ourselves because I think in the traditional thought in medicine is like someone's going to come save you, some pill, some injection, some procedure. But really, if we don't learn how to get up, dust ourselves off, and save ourselves, like we are never going to survive and thrive.
So, Doc, tell me a little bit about your book, I'm So Effing Tired. What inspired you to write this book?
Well, I actually have two books. I have I'm So Effing Tired and I'm So Effing Hungry. And the reason why is because the first one is the top complaint I get, and the second one is the second complaint I get. So I'm so tired is a common thing that people say because we live in this world of overstimulation and kind of under movement. And then I'm So Effing Hungry is about our gut brain connection and how we really are hungry because our gut bacteria are hungry, and we're tired because our gut bacteria are tired.
Okay, well, let's start with I'm so effing tired. I mean, let's talk about that because a lot of people feel that way. Like, okay, and some people think they're tired because they didn't eat enough. I happen to think that we live in a society where abundance has been contrary to nature. Let's go back to the fact that when we were little rodents out in the savannah, you know, we people don't remember or don't think about it, but as a little rodent, we spent most of our day from sunlight or sun up to sundown hanging out in trees. Why? Because there were lions and tigers and bears on the ground. Oh my. And so, majority of our diet was plant-based, tree-based. And then once every couple of weeks, we would go slaughter something that we try to eat before it rotted. And, we got that in, but we weren't eating meat and eating some of the stuff that we eat right now 5-6 times a day. We weren't consuming cooked food 5 and 6 times a day. It was hundreds of years went by before we started, consuming a cooked meal throughout the entire day. Most of the time, it was the last meal that we had at the end of the day because we understood if we didn't cook something, people got sick. So therefore, let's put some water in this thing, put a fire underneath of it, and throw our stuff in it all day long. So we boiled stuff all day long. That's how we ate super, right? So and we weren't actually eating to glutton. We were eating just really to fuel ourselves, right?
Absolutely. I mean, when we look at the way our brains are still wired, we are wired on circadian rhythm. So we're wired on the sun and dark cycle. So during the time when the sun is up or daylight hours, our hormones, our brain, our intestines, uh, everything is working to digest and to help us, move. And then in the dark hours, like sundown, you're supposed to be resting your gut. You're supposed to be getting ready for bed. You're not supposed to be seeing bright lights. You're not supposed to be having heavy meals. You're not supposed to be eating till midnight, and so there's a lot to be learned about our bodies from kind of the day and night cycles. Like we're during the day, Americans or modern people are just not seeing enough daylight. So they're not getting stimulation to their brain to resync their circadian clocks. And then at night, they're seeing a ton of bright light. And so the body gets confused. These clocks are damaged. They can break. That's how diseases start. It's also why you feel tired all the time. It's like jet lag.
Absolutely. I have recently, well, for the last now, at least the last 3 years of my life, 4 years of my life, I've been kind of staying on the intermittent fasting tip where I try to, I try like today, I'm doing this podcast, so I'll finish this with you at 4:30. I will try to have my dinner eaten and consumed by 6 o'clock. And then I won't really eat anything else. Every once in a while, I might grab a snack, but that's very few times a week. And maybe once or twice a week, I might have something after 6, but I don't eat another meal until, somewhere around, 9, 10, sometimes as late as 12 in the day. So, and I really only consume 2 real meals a day. For a while, I was eating, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, trying because I was in the military, and that's what you were, told to do. You have to go have breakfast, lunch, and dinner. But the truth of the matter is, I've stopped consuming lunch at least 6 days a week, and I don't miss it at all. And I feel way better eating this way than I did, say, 6 years ago when I was eating 3 meals a day.
You're absolutely doing it the right way by eating an early dinner. In popular media, a lot of people think intermittent fasting just means, you eat really late into the night and then you try to skip your breakfast and skip your lunch or try to push it as much as you can during the day. But really, the real way to do intermittent fasting is match the circadian rhythm so that you're eating very little or not at all in the evening hours. So you have an early dinner and then you rest your gut overnight. And then you wait, 12, 14, 16, 18 hours before you eat again. That's really the ideal way to do it.
Absolutely, and it's been working for me. I'm going to tell you, I know a lot of our listeners out there are tuned in. I have felt entirely different eating in this way than I did 5 years ago when I was just eating the regular 3 meals a day. Trying to cut to breakfast by 7 o'clock in the morning, and then running out the door, then grabbing a lunch, and grabbing I schedule my days based on my work schedule. Like tomorrow, I'll be in a studio all day long. I won't have now tomorrow I will. I'll eat a breakfast, probably something early because I will be in studio all day. So I'll eat something at around I get it picked up at 7:30. I'll eat at around 9 o'clock. And then I won't probably eat again until the crew takes a lunch break, which will be around 12. And I eat very little protein right then, and I'll eat a little bit of vegetables. And then I won't eat again when I get home. I will eat. I happen to cook a really nice chicken soup this week, so I'll have a little soup tomorrow evening. I'm done by 6 o'clock. I won't eat again, and
That's
then
perfect.
Saturday morning, I won't eat until probably 11 or 12 o'clock.
Wow. So basically, people, as you know, in today's world, we're eating too much and
Yeah,
we're eating too often. And so, what you just described is really the way we should be thinking about it. We don't need to be eating all of that food. and we don't need to be eating all the time. It was so interesting because we went to Japan. I went to Japan over the Christmas holiday, and it was so interesting to see the Japanese culture. They weren't eating on the streets. They weren't eating on the subways. They weren't eating, when you're in America, you see everyone's always carrying a Starbucks, or
Right.
there's somebody, they're eating everywhere you go. And in their culture, it's like, if you buy something at a food store, you have to eat it right there. You sit down, you eat it, you throw it away, and then you go on with your day. You're not constantly eating. And I thought to myself, wow, even I consider myself healthy, but if I'm in the clinic, I have something on my desk, but I really started to think, this is the way we're supposed to do it. You're supposed to, like you said, eat something, take a break, move your body, then eat again. You don't need to be on this constant IV drip of food.
Absolutely. Again, I like to liken it to just thinking about those little, monkeys we were on the savannah when we were running around. I mean, we spent most of our day trying to grab something to eat and then took off running from the thing that was going to eat us. And then we
Yeah.
went back up the tree and we did it again and we did it again. And, I think people too often rely on this thought. I think, well, again, food is comfort. We understand that. For some people, it's overindulgence of that comfort. However, if people started paying attention to it, I mean, I think we would all start to understand that the energy level does go up when you eat like this rather than go down.
Yeah, that's the thing. Everyone thinks also, like during the pandemic, for example, everyone thought that they felt so tired, and they thought it was because, we usually think of being tired because you're doing so much. But during the pandemic, we weren't doing much at all. And we were sitting in our homes. And it just goes to show that being tired is not necessarily a problem of doing too much. It's actually doing too little of the things that kind of light you up and move your body and use your brain.
Absolutely. Well, look, let's talk a little bit about something in your book. Let's talk about gut health. And when you hear about it, people talk about it, say things about it. You see commercials trying to sell you some product that supposedly is going to improve your gut health. But we know that your gut health can be improved just by what you put in it, right?
Oh, when you said something in the beginning about what you put into your body, that's exactly how you think about gut health. What you put into your body is what you put out into the world. So the food, the thoughts, the social media, the people, that's all your inputs. And whatever you're inputting ends up being your output. So, for example, we know that our gut and our brain are so connected that when you eat food, you ingest food, your gut bacteria communicate with your brain what's happening down there. They'll say, oh, she's eating something foreign. I don't understand it. There's a lot of chemicals. There's no fiber to feed me. This is inflammation. They send inflammation signals. So people wonder, like, why do I have so much inflammation? It's because the food that you're eating is sending signals to your brain to be tired, to be inflamed, and the rest of your body to feel lethargic. And then if you're eating foods that the gut bacteria love, like high fiber foods like vegetables and fruits, your gut bacteria become happy, they procreate, they flourish, and they send those signals to your brain. And so literally what you're inputting becomes what you're outputting.
And but here's a question for you. In recent years, I mean, I've been watching. I tried to, and now here I make the statement. I've tried to avoid like heavy sugary drinks. Try to cut them out. I want to tell you, less than two of them this year. I probably had, a taste for it. I don't know why. Every now and then, I'll look at a soda or something. And once every 6 or 7 months, I'll think, let me have a sip. I'll take a couple sips. As a matter of fact, I was on a trip this last week visiting somewhere, and I do a show that's called Military Makeover, where we make over the homes of deserving veterans.
Oh, that's so
And
great.
one of the volunteer groups, a guy showed up and he had cases of these sodas that they're brand new sodas that they're making in this area. He said, you ought to try one of my sodas. And he gave me like a couple of them. And I didn't want to,
Yeah.
act ungrateful. So I took them, put them in my bag, and brought them home. I've had them in my bag or had them at home in the refrigerator for like 5 or 6 days. And I said, let me just taste this, because the guy claimed that it had less sugar in it than others, but it still doesn't have less sugar. It's got like 37 grams of sugar in it. So, I took a sip of it, but I took I'm telling you, I put a glass, I took this much of it. It's been sitting on my counter for like the last 5 hours, and I'm going to dump it out before I have dinner. Why doesn't, or why don't the manufacturers of food and products in our country understand the damage that they are doing to this population by adding more and more sugar to everything we get. I mean, if you go and read the labels, read bread. Bread's got sugar in it now. Read milk. They're adding milk, sugar to milk. Why are they adding sugar? Well, we know it's such an inflammatory, invasive product to put into the gut.
Because it makes you want it more. It's literally because we have this dopamine pathway in our bodies. That's the molecule of more. That's the one that gets you up out of your seat and makes you drive across town to do something. So, dopamine is so strong. And if you can create a product that produces more dopamine, that means people will be more addicted and they'll drive across town and they'll buy your product.
But I mean, come on now. I mean, this is almost criminal to me. When we know that, and I don't know. I think again, going back to those ideas of studies that they won't fund to prove the point that this over sugar consumption is really what's driving a lot of the illness that we have in our country and in the world today. But other countries ban the added sugar in certain things. I mean, if you went back and looked at a bottle of any brand of soda 15 years ago, and you looked at the calorie content label, which some of them didn't have on them back then, but you looked at it, you found it, you'd probably find it's, a bottle of like this big of soda, 12-ounce bottle, 22 grams, 24 grams. Now, 51 grams. I looked at a bottle of soda the other day. It was really funny. I ate at some place and I bought some breakfast, and they give away free sodas with the breakfast. So I just took it. I was going to give it away to the person at my front desk. And I was walking back and I'm reading the bottle, and I'm not going to give out the brand name, but that particular brand name had 59 grams of sugar in a 12, like a 10-ounce bottle. I'm 59 grams, and people don't understand that's 4 teaspoons per gram. So, or no, 4 grams per teaspoon. So now you're looking at that's like taking a glass, putting it on your counter, taking a sugar bowl and doing it 14 times into that glass, then putting water on it. What?
I know. You won't believe it, Montel. So during the holiday season, we were doing this kind of look into holiday drinks, because they have a lot of sugar. So we're looking
Mhm.
30, 40, 50 grams. There are holiday drinks now in our popular chains that are 80 plus grams of sugar in one serving.
That
I,
I
I
just
mean,
it blows my mind, and science and doctors know that this is detrimental to health. So why can't we convince more doctors to just start waving the red flag?
I think it's a multifactorial issue. Of course, there's so many things at play here. So I think, why are we selling these products? One, why is it something that is not regulated more heavily? Why isn't it taught more freely in schools? Why don't we teach kids that, hey, I know that that juice box tastes way better than eating the actual fruit, but here's why you should consider having the fruit. Like, I think my kids, they understood that. They said to me, "Oh yeah, it tastes a lot better when it's refined and in a juice box, with sugar. But eating the fruit, it takes work. You have to peel it, you have to cut it. And then when I explained to them the difference on their brain and their body at a young age, they could understand that, right? So it can go it can come from the schools, it can come from the doctors, it can come from the media, it can come from, but it's not really coming from anywhere at this point.
I bet it can come from your book. So give me a shout out real quick. Tell me the stats. How can people get the book?
Yeah, you can. My website is amymdwellness.com. And you actually can get the books anywhere books are sold: Amazon, Barnes and Nobles, your local bookstore. It's I'm So Effing Tired and I'm So Effing Hungry.
And I'm sure your website, tell me what your website has on it. So for a parent, I'm at home and I want my kids to kind of tune in and take a look at some of the stuff that you have. First off, tell them where to go to your website.
It's called Amy MD Wellness, AMYMD Wellness, WELLNESS.com. And that's where, you can get links to my social media. I do educational videos every day on Instagram, on TikTok. And then I have consulting. I do wellness consulting. I do talks. I have lots of resources for free or low cost there.
Okay, all right. So people need to know and going up on that website and find out that information. Let's go back to the gut health for just a second, because how important. Well, we know how important gut health is, but explain a little bit more about that gut brain connection.
There's a study about the gut brain connection, the power of the gut brain connection that changed everything for me and really made me understand what the power was. So, ready?
Yes, ma'am.
They took the gut bacteria from patients who had schizophrenia and they transplanted it to mice that had no gut bacteria. And then they took gut bacteria from patients who didn't have schizophrenia, and they transplanted that to another group of mice. And then they mixed them all up. And just by transplanting the gut bacteria, the scientists were able to accurately, 100% accuracy, pick out which mice had received the bacteria from the schizophrenic patients because of the way the mice were acting.
Wow.
Nothing changed. They didn't change their brain. They didn't change anything. They literally just transplanted the gut bacteria. And when they did a biopsy on those mice, they found that even their brain changed and looked like a patient who had schizophrenia. And so, just by transplanting gut bacteria, you can change your entire being, your mental state. And then this was, repeated in depression, anxiety, autism, ADHD, Alzheimer's. And they saw, whoa, you can transplant all these mental health diseases just by taking their gut bacteria because it's so strong, that gut brain connection. So basically, you think about it, you're from, you have this military background. It's basically, there's an entire military of gut bacteria that live in our bodies that are walkie talking to our brain what to do. And so when you transplant gut bacteria from one person to another, the military sends those signals to that new brain. And so that new person ends up having the same mental health as the person they got the gut bacteria from.
Have we seen? I know there's some studies going on at Harvard right now. We're with Dr. Howard Weiner up there, and I know they've been working on gut bacteria when it comes to things like Alzheimer's and
Mhm.
other autoimmune diseases. Correct? And
Yes.
so, can the positive, the inverse happen? I mean, can you take
Yes.
a good gut bacteria and put it into somebody and help to ameliorate some of the symptoms that are going on with the person?
Absolutely. So that's the future of psychiatric and neurologic medicine, is saying, hey, what if we transplant the gut bacteria from healthy people into people who are suffering with all these kind of diseases, right? Alzheimer's, with depression, etc. So the problem is that when you're transplanting gut bacteria from one person to the other, it's literally basically feces. Feces
Yeah.
comes from your gut that has the highest level of bacteria. And what gastroenterologists do is that they take that, they clean it, they use something to make sure there's no viruses or bad um, transmitted diseases, and then they use a colonoscopy and they put it back into the new person. And the problem is the FDA has banned it right now. And
Why? Because they banned it because they know it works, or they banned it because they just don't like the idea.
they just think that it's going to get out of control, that this is a bodily fluid, just like a blood transfusion. You could get all kinds of diseases, hepatitis, HIV, because you can transplant whatever that donor has, lives in its bacteria. And they don't think that we yet have the tools to know that this is safe and effective in the large scale. So it's only allowed in one condition, in patients who have a bacterial infection of their gut called Clostridium difficile. It's a life-threatening gut infection, and these people are basically at death's door. They have diarrhea, and their bodies are just rejecting every food. If you give them donor bacteria through a fecal transplant, you can save their lives. And so that's the only indication so far.
And I've been looking at some of the research that's being done around the world. The idea of the cleansing, or not cleansing, but I guess it was screening that bacteria, is starting to catch on, though, in lots of other research projects. They allow for research on this, but they're not even allowing for research other than that one particular case.
No, they're allowing some research on it, but the problem is it ethical is the big question. So basically, what it's become is, hey, let's isolate the bacterial strains, clean out not get it from a human being, and just say which are the bacterial strains that we can grow in the lab or get from a source that we can put in a pill or a food form and feed it to that person so that they can get that bacteria. So it's called psychobiotics. It's this whole new research realm of taking bacteria and using it as medication and trying to see which groups of bacteria can do what for the brain.
I've also been seeing this in the cases of, extremely resistant bacteria and other pathogens that are out there right now. Because I mean, we're hitting this point where we're kind of running out of the tools to fight some of the pathogens that we found on the planet. And I saw something recently that talked about gut bacteria that literally was actually saving some other people's lives when it comes to having an infection that they don't know how to cure, right?
Yeah. I mean, the application of this is just insane. Like if you think about, the power of that gut brain connection, if you can get the gut bacteria right now, donors are only allowed to be like family or very, close relatives. So that way, when you are getting gut bacteria, you're not worried about all this contamination. But the real promise is, hey, why don't we take all this gut bacteria from healthy people and bank it and give it out to all these different diseases and see what happens? Like I feel like, what you have to gain is much more than what you have to lose. But there are ways to change your gut bacteria without getting a fecal transplant. Like,
Okay,
for
let's
example,
talk about that because you can
yeah,
give us some tips on how we
yeah,
can
like
support
you can
healthy.
change it today. Actually,
Okay.
there is a study in Nature that shows that radically changing your diet will change your gut bacteria within 3 days. So they did a study where they said, hey, let's see maybe 2 weeks of putting someone from a very processed, heavily fast food, fried diet to a super healthy, whole foods, full of plants and, nuts and seeds, and see how long it takes for their gut microbiome to start to improve. And they noticed it was 3 days. That's when you
Wow.
started to see a lot of changes, significant changes in the gut. And by 2 weeks, there was a huge difference. So, I mean, this is something that we can all do and take action on and really improve our mental health, our energy levels, and our inflammation. So, like all the things that cause disease in the future can go down by improving your gut health.
And Doc, I mean, is it a matter of, like we say, change your diet? Is it a matter of being extreme to go vegan, or is it a matter of just ensuring that you put things in? I'm not necessarily sure that we have to take everything out. It's
Yeah.
you're putting things in, right?
Absolutely. Putting things in and also thinking about it this way. The worst foods you could give to your gut bacteria are something called ultra processed foods. And so everyone's like, okay, processed food, everything's processed, but ultra processed is a separate term. Ultra processed means that there's ingredients in that food that don't exist in a kitchen or any culinary kitchen. So when you take Cheetos or Doritos, there are ingredients in there that would never be found in a kitchen, even if you had every culinary ingredient in the world. You can't recreate that thing, right? Because it has non-food chemical ingredients that actually don't exist in actual
Nature, right?
food-based.
Sure.
Yeah. So those ultra processed foods are the gut killers. That's what's making us sad and depressed and killing our gut bacteria, making us inflamed. So by and far, I say to people, it's really difficult. I know you eat probably 60% of your food is ultra processed, at least in the average American diet, especially with kids, even more so, teens, even more so, more like 70, 75%. Start to bring that down. Start to say, you know what? Maybe I have one home cooked meal every day. Maybe I have one, instead of getting a frozen pasta, with those frozen meals have a lot of those, ultra processed ingredients. Maybe you make a pasta at home. Like making a small switch of eating real food doesn't have to be like, oh, you completely changed and went from, eating a completely junk food diet to vegan or something. It can be small changes like that.
hmm hmm I've noticed, in recent years, like I cooked a chicken soup the other day, and we're gonna have it again tonight for dinner. But I went out and I buy a lot of vegetables, and I buy
Yeah.
vegetable stock, not chicken stock,
Mhm.
and I literally end up chopping up everything from garlic to potatoes to carrots to green beans to spinach, and then I'm using maybe for a 2 quart pot of soup. I'm using only 3 chicken breasts, but
Yeah.
that's chopped up among all the smaller vegetables, and those vegetables that are chopped up. My wife and I, we love it, and I will try at least every week to cook a soup that we'll eat at least 3 days that week.
That's excellent. I mean, that's something I think we can all do at home that's not so hard. I always tell people that it's not, we all get stuck in our diet cultures like, oh, are you paleo? Are you vegan? Are you carnivore? Are you this and that? And I realize that it really, if you look at the literature, it's just reducing your ultra processed food. And that can be a lot of different diets.
Absolutely. And let's talk a little bit about also making sure that there's diversity in your diet. I mean, of course, you don't want to just eat just, those, I don't know, cruciferous green vegetables, but you
Yeah.
can also eat fruits. You can eat bananas. You can eat apples. You can eat fruit,
Not
uh,
seeds,
nuts,
spices. Yeah.
seeds, beans.
Actually, if you look at the literature, the best ideal situation is 30 different foods in a week. That
Wow.
includes spices, that includes nuts and seeds. So it's not like you have to eat all these 30 different foods, but that is the best way to improve the diversity in your gut, which is like the epitome of gut health.
And then talk a little bit about how stress impacts your gut health and your energy levels.
I mean, stress is, the killer, the modern killer, right? Because if you are stressed, you're telling your body that there's a danger situation out there. That means that your body shunts all the blood away from digestion into your large muscles, so you could run if you have to, into your eyes, so they dilate, into your heart, so it can beat really fast. That feeling that a lot of us have when we feel really stressed, like you get that email or that phone call. Um, and it really shunts everything away from hormones and digestion, right? So if we're perpetually living in this state of fight or flight, we're never really giving our body a chance to digest, to fix, replenish, and that really contributes to both fatigue in the long term, burnout, and poor health. Because how long can you live without your body focusing on your gut health and your hormones and rejuvenating itself?
Okay. And I know your book has some tips about how you can, there's some stress busting exercises that you have. Tell me a little bit about those.
Okay, one thing that's so easy that everyone can do right now is step outside. So there's something about being outdoors, getting natural light, being in nature, even if you're not in a jungle, like if you just have some trees around you. Your brain is wired to see that, to hear birds, to see sunlight and calm itself down. There's something about nature. I think you anecdotally know that, right? Like we anecdotally know when you go for a walk or spend some time outside, you just feel more relaxed and you feel better. That is something I think that people could do that's free and easy, that most people wouldn't think that had such a huge effect on your energy levels and your happiness.
And it does have a direct effect on your energy levels, correct?
Direct. So when you see sunlight, there's neurons that go straight from your eye to your hypothalamus in your brain and tell it to release hormones. It tells it what time it is. It kind of tunes the clock in your brain. And when your clock gets tuned, you get a burst of energy. That's why when I always tell people, if you can get even like a couple minutes of sunlight every morning, or even if it's dark, just daylight, your day is just going to be better. It's like an instant energy boost.
Wow. And what role do our hormones play, and how can we manage or better manage our hormone levels?
So our hormones are basically the messengers for everything in our body, right? So like I described, there's a master hormone in your brain that kind of tells all the other hormones what to do. So it loves to see sunlight. It loves when you go out in nature. That kind of syncs everything together, so everything gets um, released properly. I think of it like a highway system. So you start in your brain, and then there's exits off to your thyroid, exit off to your ovaries or testes. There's exit off to your adrenal glands. And what happens to a lot of us is that there's a traffic jam. There's traffic jams everywhere because we're, eating poor foods. We're not getting enough sunlight. Maybe you're not exercising. Maybe you have toxic people in your life. And you think by adding hormones, oh, I'll just add testosterone, I'll just add estrogen, I'll just add thyroid, that you're going to fix the problem. But really, if you have a traffic jam, adding hormones is not going to fix the problem. You actually have to unclog those pathways. If you live at Miami is a perfect example, but New York, LA is similar. Like you have one, accident somewhere and the entire system is shut down or slowed down.
And is there a difference in the hormone, the emphasis between men and women?
Yeah. So women, it's so fascinating, but women, human women are the only species in the animal kingdom that lives well past menopause, meaning that usually in an animal, once the ovary dies, the animal dies. In humans and two species of whales, we live decades after our hormonal ovaries hormones shut off. And so there's this unique thing that happens in women called menopause and perimenopause that is very different from any other animal species and our male counterparts.
Wow. And, the book again is called I'm So Effing Tired. So give a shout out to where people can go. Again, Amazon, anywhere books are sold.
Yeah, Barnes & Noble's, Amazon, or you can go to my website, amymdwellness.com.
Okay. And that's where I want my people who are watching this, go. They need to go and check it out. And, it's been amazing. I really enjoy this conversation. I'd love to have you back sometime if you want.
Yeah, of course. This is great.
Absolutely. Because I think the more and more people know, the more and more they're educated enough to understand that they can impact their own health just with minor little changes, the better we're all going to be as a society.
Totally. Save yourself.
Absolutely. Save yourself. Thank you so much, Doc, for being a part of the show today. I want to thank all of you for tuning in to Free Thinking with Montel. Make sure you tune in to the next one. Thanks for joining me on Free Thinking with Montel. Please make sure you're subscribed and hit the bell to be notified when new episodes post each week. We'd love to hear your feedback, so please send us your comments.